Hi everyone, welcome back to today's video. For today we're going to be making this really pretty card. It's honestly so simple to make and I think it looks really pretty. It's probably one of my favorite cards that I've made recently, and I feel like I've been saying that with almost every single one. But I think I mentioned this when I did my walkthrough of everything that I got from our new mini catalog, and the patterns and the colors and everything in this catalog always just really inspires me. So I think that's probably part of the reason why I'm feeling this way, but I am just obsessed. Love this stamp set, love this paper, and I'm so excited to share this with you guys. So before we get into how we're going to make this, disclaimer, I am sick, so I'm sorry if I sound really congested and whatnot. I got back from Arizona a few days ago, and ever since I got back, I just haven't really been feeling great. I just went for like a little mini vacation with some friends and came back, and I've been feeling cruddy ever since. So hopefully it's not too bad. I do feel like I'm on the verge of getting better now, so hopefully it's not too bad. But I just want to put that disclaimer out there because I know I sound sick, I am sick, and I'm very sorry. I'm staying away from the general population so I don't get anyone else sick. So that should count for something. So to talk about what we need for today's video, the first thing that we are going to need is the Dress to Impress stamp set, as well as the All Dressed Up dies. So these actually come together in a bundle in the mini catalog. You can save 10% on both of the items if you purchase that bundle. If you don't, we do need both of these to make the project. Obviously, we're featuring this stamp set. We're using a few of the images, but there are some really pretty ones, like this lipstick I think is really cute, this parfum bottle, the shoe, so really pretty images in here. I know that I'll be using this stamp set again sometime in the near future. I feel like the dogs are making weird noises and I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to roll with it. We're also going to be using the From My Heart Faceted Gems for today. Along with this Whisper White, what is it actually called? This is the 1/4 inch crinkled seam binding ribbon. I love this ribbon. I think I talked about this in that haul video when I showed you guys what I got, that I love our crinkle seam binding ribbon. You can see here, this was from many catalogs ago. This was in, oh, what was this color? I don't even remember what this color was, but I got it. This one's a little thicker, but I tied it onto the corner or the handle of my ribbon scissors, so I know which are my ribbon scissors, right? But I always, when I pick these up, I'm like, oh man, I loved that ribbon so much. And this is the exact same thing. This is just in Whisper White, and it's a little bit thinner. So I absolutely love it. And I'll talk a little bit more when we get into putting the card together at how versatile this ribbon can truly be. I'll talk to you guys a little bit about that, but it's amazing. I'll stop rambling about it, I promise. For ink, we're going to be using Just Stays On today. We are going to be using 2 of our Stampin' Write markers. These are both from the Subtle collection, so if you have the Subtle Stampin' Write markers, you'll have these. This is Petal Pink and Pear Pizzazz, so we're going to be using both of those. And then for our paper today, so this is a piece from the, oh shoot, what is it? I think it's the Best Dressed Designer Series paper is the title of that. Yes, Best Dressed Designer Series paper. So we're going to be using this piece. We are going to, sorry, things are falling over here. We are going to cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4, so it's our standard size card layer, but I'll talk to you guys about that and I'll cut it with you because you can see here that the paper kind of has a gradient, so this corner down here is a lot darker than this corner up here is, so depending on what you want on your card, you want to cut it a different way, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that and explain to you what I wanted and how I go about getting that. Then I just have a piece of regular Whisper White here. This is just a scrap, so you just need enough to do our little greeting and the 2 flowers, so whatever you have lying around. And then for our card base, this is just a piece of thick Whisper White. This is cut, excuse me, this is cut at 4 1/4 by 11 inches and scored at 5 1/2. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so I wanted to pause for a second before we jump into the actual video and talk to you about a couple other things that I don't normally talk about. I am going to be using some tools and adhesives that I don't normally use, so I wanted to throw it out there and let you guys know. So I am going to be using glue dots today. You don't have to use glue dots. If you have our fine tip glue pen, that will work really well. I think glue dots, and our glue dots is going to be your best option, and I'll talk to you about that when we get there. But if you have something else that you want to use, you can absolutely do that. I just wanted to mention these because they are a little bit out of the norm for what I use as far as adhesives and tools go. So I wanted to talk about them and just let you guys know. We're going to be using regular dimensionals today, but I'm also going to be using our mini dimensionals because the little piece that goes on the front has some very delicate pieces to it. I opted to use some of our mini dimensionals to make sure that those pieces stuck down really, really well. So just a heads up on that. And then I am going to be using my Take Your Pick tool. I use this a lot for the pointy edge, the point here to get backings off of tear and tape, to move things around. But I'm actually going to be using the adhesive piece today when we start working with the little gems that we have. So I just wanted to throw that out there and let you guys know that I am going to be using this. If you have something like this or this tool specifically, it's going to come in real handy for this project. So now let's actually jump into the project. Okay, so to start, I want to go ahead and cut our card, or our card layer. I was going to say card base, our card layer. So like I was talking to you guys a little bit a second ago, this piece of paper, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love this paper. So just to show you guys, even like the flip side of this, I originally grabbed this paper because I was going to use this pattern, and then I ended up using this one. So this paper is so pretty. I love the florals that are in it. Really, really, really gorgeous paper. I'm absolutely obsessed. I love this one too. That one's really, really pretty. There are just some beautiful floral images in here. So even like this one, for example, I probably won't ever use this pattern. It's just not my style. But what I will use is this pattern because I love the florals, and that's how a lot of these are. Even like this one, I don't know that I'll ever truly use this. Maybe I will, but I really like these stripes. So this is definitely a really versatile pack as well. If you like some of these more pinky, purple, florals, that kind of stuff, this is a great pack of paper to grab. Definitely one of my favorites from the mini catalog. So as I was saying though, let me get to the point, right? So as I was saying, I liked this paper, but it has kind of a gradient to it. So it actually goes in a diagonal. It's not like an up and down gradient like you normally will see. So it kind of starts in one corner and it goes up, or whichever way you're looking at the paper, right? So I really wanted to get as much of that gradient in there as I could. And what I liked the best was to focus in the darker corner, and then you can see the lighter bit. So you can see here that it's really dark in this corner and it's pretty light up here. I don't get the lightest of the light, so like this corner is probably the lightest. I don't get that piece in there, but I still get that gradient that I really wanted, and something that really attracted me. Oops, my card is falling. That's something that really attracted me to this paper, so I wanted to make sure I could capture it. So I just wanted to throw that out there as something to consider, because this piece of paper specifically, this design, kind of has a lot going on with it. You do want to take that into consideration. Or if you don't care and it's just like, yeah, I'll pick whatever piece I want to pick, then go for it. It's just something that I do pay attention to. So because of that, I just wanted to be careful and mindful as I was cutting my piece of paper. So because I want this to be my bottom right-hand corner, and I'm cutting my piece at 4 inches by 5 1/4. So right now I'm going to do the width. So I flip it so that I know this is 4 inches. And then again, I want to keep this piece, so then I'm going to do 5 1/4. Whoops, see, I almost messed it up. I want to keep this, so I'm going to put this at my line, at my measurement, so that I cut off the other piece. I don't know if that's making any sense. I'm hopped up on cold medicine if it doesn't. That's my excuse, okay? So now I get this piece here that's my perfect dimension, and I get to that really gradient look that this paper has that I wanted to make sure I didn't lose. So it's just really more of an insight of, if you like that gradient and you like the way that that looks, just be mindful when you're cutting your piece of paper and think about how exactly you can get all of those different colors that you want into it. So next up, let's go ahead and do our stamping. So I'm going to take my scrap here of Whisper White. I'm going to take my Stays On ink. I'm going to take my grading here that says Hello Fabulous. And I'm going to stamp that right here. Whoa. That has never happened to me before. That's weird. You know what? This is what we're going to do. Maybe I didn't get enough ink on the stamp. I have I stamped this earlier to create my sample card as I was kind of designing it out, and then I just kind of let it sit there. So maybe that has something to do with it. Who knows? Okay, so Hello Fabulous is going down there. Much better. I do think I'll probably need another little bit of Whisper White. So hopefully I can find another little bit. I just had one. Where did you go? Oh, I promise you, on days that I am like not at 100% mental capacity is when I run into the most problems. Okay, I need to go find that scrap of Whisper White that I just had, and then I will be right back. Okay, I didn't find the piece that I was actually looking for, but this one that I did end up finding will do. So I stamped the Hello Fabulous on one piece, and then I just put both of these little flower images on the same block, just to make it a little bit easier for me to stamp, basically so I didn't have to stamp twice. You don't have to do this. You can stamp them individually. I just like to look for those little shortcuts whenever I can. Perfect. So that is all of the stamping that we're doing. So I'm going to put my ink pad away. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in, ooh, that was probably annoying. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my dies. So the first one that we have is this little rectangle that has like a little, I don't know, a little swoosh at the bottom of it, or it could be the top, depending on how you look at it, the side, whatever. And then you have two little images that will cut out our flowers. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and line these up. As usual, I'm going to use my washi to put this down just like so. So there's one. And then you just have to play around with these. You can kind of tell the one that has like a bump on the outside of it is the one for the two flowers, and then the other one goes on the single flower, but you may have to play around with it. I didn't struggle, but it took me a couple times to figure out which one was which. Now, I am going to color these flowers. You can color them before you cut them out. You can color them after you cut them out. It doesn't truly matter. Okay, I am telling you, anytime that I am not fully here, everything goes wrong. My batteries died, so I had to fix that. So anyway, new battery in the camera. We should be good to go. So I believe what I was saying was you can color these flowers before or after you cut them out. When I did my sample card, I actually colored them before. It's probably a little bit easier to color them before, but because I'm already here and ready to cut them out, I'm just going to cut them out and then I'll color them after they're cut out. It's not really the end of the world. So let's bring in the Big Shot, or whatever cutting machine that you have right now. I know we no longer sell the Big Shot, so I'm sorry. Actually, good news is we do have a new die cutting machine coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but I do know that there is something in the works that you guys should be able to get your hands on at some point. Like I said, I don't know when that is, but good things to come, right? Okay, so we cut those guys out. Let's move my disgusting plates out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and pop this out. Just like this. So there's that. And then there are those. I'm going to take the washi off. And one more. There we go. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to set this one off to the side because we don't really need it right now. I'm going to take my two Stampin' Write markers, and this is what I was saying. It's probably a little bit easier to do this before you cut them out, so that you have a little bit more something to grab onto, but it'll work just the same. So I'm just taking my, what is this? Again, Pear Pizzazz marker, and I'm coloring in the leaves of the flowers. Super, super simple. If you wanted to, you could use your Stampin' Blends if you wanted to get really into it and shade a lot. I've mentioned it before. For me personally, I am not the best at using our Stampin' Blends. I should play with them a little bit more. I just never find the time to really sit down and play with alcohol markers and really understand and learn the best trips, blah, 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 blah. Tips and tricks. I don't know why I couldn't say that. But they're out there. I know they're out there. I just need to spend the time doing it. But for images like that are this tiny, I don't normally spend the time to blend and do all of that stuff. You know, I have done it before. I feel like I can do it to some degree. I just, for something this tiny, I don't really feel like spending the time to do it, so I'm not going to. So I'm just coloring this entire flower image and the entire leaves in one solid color. And then again, for the flowers, I'm using Petal Pink. I think it's just a really pretty color, and it goes really well with the purples of the paper that we're using. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep our little flowers out, and we are going to grab our little From My Heart faceted gems here. And we're going to be using the white or clear gems from this little kit here. So this is where my Take Your Pick tool comes into play. You'll see that I actually don't use the sticky tacky part in the actual tool itself. I find that, and it's not just with this one, it's with like every single of these like sticky tacky tool things that you'll find. I just find that like in here, it always pushes out more of the sticky tacky than I want. And it like rattles around in here. It doesn't stay really secure because when you turn it in there, it's actually pushing more of the tack out, which you don't really want. So I actually use this all on its own. I mean, I do have tiny little hands, so it fits into my hand pretty well. Others may have a little bit of issue doing that, but it works really well for me. So there are a few different sizes of gems in this little bundle here. It's not a bundle. I don't know what I'm saying. So you have like this gigantic size, right? So just to kind of do a little bit of a comparison, you have this gigantic size, and I want to say there are 3 sizes, but maybe there are more than 3. I'm not really 100% sure. So you have this gigantic size, and then you have one that's a little bit smaller, and then you have one that's even smaller than that. And I need to find, so I'm using, you have white, pink, and red in here, and I'm using the white ones, and I think this is the same size as these, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, so I don't want that one. I want the even smaller ones, and I just need to find one. There is one. So just so you guys can kind of see the comparison. Oh my gosh, where did it go? There it is. And I don't know how well you're going to see this with the camera being a little bit further away, but you have the big ones, the middle ones, and the small ones. So we need 2 of the medium-sized ones and 1 of the small ones. Once you find those 3, you can put them away. Now is where I'm going to bring in my glue dots. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to unravel my glue dots, and I'm going to take 2 glue dots and I'm going to rip them off. Normally what I do is I'll use them off of the roll, and then like the excess roll covers up the others. If you do this, you just want to make sure, you don't have to, but I just always make sure that I have some of the paper covering the exposed glue dots so they don't get caught on anything or get fuzz in them or anything like that. This is the easiest way that I have found to put these gems on using glue dots. Like I was saying earlier, I feel like this is the most secure way to put them on because the glue dots are really, really sticky. You don't have to do this. You can use 1 full glue dot and then just kind of roll up the edges underneath it. What ends up happening though is some of the glue dot kind of mushes out the sides of it. So if you get any like fuzz or anything near it, it'll attract to that. Or the gem just stands up really tall from the card, which I don't really want either. So what I'm going to do is right here on the paper, I'm going to cut my glue dots in half. And I'm actually going to do that. And this just makes them a little bit more manageable size to work with these little gems. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take my pointy tool, I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to, whoops, that one didn't cut all the way, which is fine. So I'm going to take a half of a glue dot and the larger of the gems, and I'm going to push it down onto the glue dot. And you'll see you still have a little bit of excess. You can either cut this off, you can roll it up, you can kind of do whatever you want to get the excess off. I just find that it's really, really easy to cut it off. And then I'm just going to stick it down, back down on my tack tool. And then I'm going to put the big ones right in the center of the 2 larger flowers. So again, take my little tack here, pick up my gem. I'm then going to put it on half of a glue dot. And I got some of the tack on it, so I'll have to take that off. Oh, I got it. Okay. And you just kind of have to play with it and find out what works best for you, what you're most comfortable with. You're probably not going to be able to see this, but you can also fold in the little excess from the glue dot because it's just like barely anything. It doesn't really affect the way that the gem sits on the flowers. So that's also an option, like I was saying. And then just stick it down. And if you're finding that like when you push the gems down that it hurts your fingers a little bit, this, so if you have take your pick tool how it comes and you take this piece out, there's this ring here and it actually works really well to press down the gem. So you don't want to put the gem in the hole, you want to put it on the white edge here, on the little rim. And it actually helps, works really well to press the gem down. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to use one of the smaller glue dots. Or one of the smaller glue dots, the smaller gem here. So if you wanted to, you could probably actually cut this in half again. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to stick it down on here. And then let's see, you could probably, yeah, you can just cut it on the piece of, from the glue dot. Maybe roll up some of the edges a little bit. And then for this one that's kind of like folded in a little bit more, that's where we're going to use the smaller gem. Just like that. And then again, I'm going to use my take your pick tool to kind of push it down. So it seems a little intimidating. It seems like it may be a little hard to do, but I promise you guys, it's really not that difficult. Once you're kind of there doing it, playing around with it, it's really, really easy. You just have to kind of mess around with it and find the technique that works best for you. This is what works best for me, but I did a few different things before I was like, oh, actually that is the easiest way for me to do it. So just play around with it. Don't be afraid. And if you don't want to do it, don't put the gems on there. It's going to look beautiful with or without the gems. So if you don't want to do it, if it seems like too much work, just nix that step and move on to the next one. The next step being, we're going to bring our greeting in here. I'm going to grab my glue dots again. And I'm going to take my take your pick tool. I'm going to pick up, where's the end of it? Okay, so we're here. So I'm going to pick up one glue dot and I'm going to put it in the top left corner. And then I'm going to pick up another glue dot and I'm going to put it in the bottom right corner. The top left one, I'm putting the entire glue dot on the piece of paper. The bottom right one, I have a little bit of hangover just because I did this earlier and I know that it doesn't completely cover that. What you can do is kind of set your pieces down and see where they're going to fit and then put your glue dot there. Or you can put the glue dot on the back of the flower. I just find it's easier to place it here first than to try to do it the other way, if that makes sense. So now that I have my glue dots here, the flower, the cutout that has just one flower, I'm going to put that one in the bottom right corner and you just stick it down there and you're good to go. And then the other I'm going to put in the top left corner, just like that. So now let's move on to assembling our card. So I'm going to bring in our designer series paper here. I'm going to grab my card base and I'm going to put wherever my snail is. Oh, no, that's not what I'm going to do. Man, I almost missed one of the most important parts. My favorite ribbon in the entire world. So I'm going to take this. Whoa, fling some scissors around apparently. I'm going to cut my piece here just large enough to cover the width of the card, of the piece of paper. And you can see here that I have this on the lower, probably third of the card. That's where I thought it looked the best. But again, this is your card, so you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to put it in the middle, put it in the middle. If you want to put it at the top, put it at the top. Nobody's going to come knocking at your door telling you that you did it wrong. So I'm just going to kind of place that where I think I want it, except it would make sense if I got some tape first so I could tape it down. This is just regular old Scotch tape. And you know what? We're just going to go with it and we're going to tape it down. Even if it's not 100% where I originally wanted it, it will be a-okay. So I'm going to tape it down on one side and then I'm going to pull so that it's nice and tight and tape down the other side just like that. Now I can use my snail and put snail on the back of it. And then bring in my card base and put this piece down on my card base. So as I was talking to you guys a little bit earlier when we were talking about the seam binding, one of the really cool things with this is that it's very, very, very sheer. So, and I wish, oh, actually here. So you can see, and I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this on camera, but when you see this in real life, you can actually see the design through the seam binding. So depending on what kind of background you put this on top of, it's gonna completely change the look of it. So if I use a dark background, it's actually gonna stand out a little bit more because I have that darkness behind it. So you can see it a little bit darker, it stands out a little bit more on here. With this, it's nice and light in the background, so you can see those colors a little bit more. It kind of just blends in a little bit more, and it's so pretty. The other thing you can do is you can take your markers and you can actually color this. So you can take this white, oh boy, here we go again with the dogs. You can take this white ribbon and you can turn it into any color you want. So if you're kind of looking at the perspective, and this is what I do also, of how can I get the most bang for my buck, this ribbon is really, really versatile because you buy one color, and with markers, with blends, you could probably even use ink and your ink pad. You can turn this into any color that you want and have it coordinate with any project that you're doing. So I'm a huge fan of this ribbon, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So now we're going to flip over our little greeting here, and this is where we're going to bring in our dimensionals. So I'm going to use regular dimensionals for all of the large pieces on all of the large surface areas here. And again, the reason I normally use a lot of dimensionals, the reason that I'm kind of going a little extra here is because there are so many delicate little things on this card that you really want to make sure that it stands up and it holds up as far as not sagging and drooping in any areas. And I just find that using the larger dimensionals for the large areas works really well. And then you can kind of go in and fill in with the little mini dimensionals for any of the other little areas that you think may sag a little bit. So what I do is I kind of flip it over and then I just kind of press on it and see, is there an area that's really, really, really sagging down a little bit? And I can go in and add a little dimensional there. Again, a completely optional step. I just find that I feel a little bit more secure about my cards holding up and looking the way that I want them to by adding in a few of those little extra little mini dimensionals. But again, totally optional, something you don't have to do, but just a nice little thing to know, a little trick to have in your back pocket. So now all I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to put it right in the middle of where that ribbon is. Push it down, and that's it. I'm going to go ahead and fold our card in half so we can look at it and use my bone folder here to get a nice good crease. And then that's it, guys. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this project. I absolutely love this. Like I was saying before, it's one of my absolute favorite projects that I've done recently. I love the way it turned out. I love just the simplicity and the beauty of it. So I really hope you guys enjoy this project also. Don't forget, you can purchase any of the things that we just talked about and that I just used 24/7 just by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net, or you can go to littlemooncreation.com and find a bunch of stuff there. You can find my hostess code for the month, so if you place an order and use that code, you get a free goodie this month. It is some rhinestones. You can find all of my past projects, things that I'm doing, all of that fun stuff. So there's a ton to look at there also. So if you're interested, check it out. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!